Hi and welcome to the Book Lab. I'm Björn, and in this video I'm going to talk about the reading year so far and the best books that you can pick up, which ones to avoid, and alternatives to those books that are more enjoyable or more informational. So focus on non-fiction books, giving you recommendations. You have things to read. I'm actually packing up for a weekend in Krakow, Poland, that I'm heading to, so I didn't have time for like a formal book review this week, but that will come. Let's see what the year has brought us so far. I'm going to put this one up. This has been a year of highs and lows, and I'm going to go through this little stack here. It's a bunch of books that I've read, some that are ongoing, so just to give some quick ideas of what's worth reading and what's not, right? So 4,000 Weeks by Oliver Burkeman. I finished this a few weeks ago. The review is up, and I have links to all the full reviews in the description below. I kind of enjoyed this one. A few weeks later now, when I think back of it, it wasn't that impactful, but I picked this up when I was in a real mess when it comes to like time management. I was trying to do too much, so I came to this book kind of in desperation. What I really liked about this book was the philosophical aspects of why we humans try to control time. I think this is a really good book if you're struggling with time management. I do recommend it, but after a few weeks now I realized that it didn't do as much impact as I thought, but that might also be due to the book that I read exactly after that, which really did a mark on me, and I'm coming to that soon. Oh yeah, this is perfect. I read Feynman's 6 Easy Poeces, The Essentials of Physics Explained by its Most Brilliant Teacher. One of my favorite books of the year. I wouldn't say that I'm much of a math or physics person, but I'm interested in it because it's fundamental stuff that you need to understand in order to understand the world. And this book was quite accessible. No, it was not actually. Easy Pieces is misleading, but I guess it's the most accessible way you can really explain quantum phenomena and stuff like that. Really enjoyed his his breakdown of the atomic theory and stuff like that, and I felt like I learned a lot, and it also got me excited to know more. If you want to read up on physics, this is a good way to start. 5 out of 5 book. I also read some philosophy this year. The Dream of Enlightenment, The Rise of Modern Philosophy. It talks about the Enlightenment philosophers. It goes through a bunch of them, which are like Hobbes, Leibniz, Spinoza, and so forth. Pretty good, but it was also pretty boring in a way. It was like, well, boring might not be the right word, but it was a bit dry at times, and it wasn't that. I felt like a little bit that I wanted it to end, but I learned a lot about Enlightenment philosophers, which is always a good thing. I read this one at the beginning of the year, Think Again by Adam Grant, The Power of Knowing What You Don't Know. And it's exactly as bad as the title and the tagline. It's a really mediocre book. I would say bad, actually. It's just like stuff that you would already understand. And if you're looking for books about how to make better decisions and think better, and how to influence people, this one is focused on organizations, but then you should actually read things like Thinking Fast and Slow by Kahneman, or if you're a new beginner reader, you should probably read Influence by Robert Cialdini. You will get much more out of that. This feels like it was very basic, talking about stuff that were common sense, basically. Oh yeah, this one is so good. I've been reading this for a long time. It's A Billion Wicked Thoughts, what the internet tells us about sexual relationships. This book is based on data from pornographic sites, and it looks at human sexuality and human sexual desire based on search data, because it's been historically hard to kind of ask people about their perversions, right? So this uses raw data, look at cultural differences between sexes when it comes to what makes them tick. I absolutely recommend it. I read it, the physical copy, and it's been a slow ride because I haven't had time to sit down with the physical book, but it's so good and not many people talk about it. Check it out. This one I actually read at the end of last year, but I wanted to bring it up because I recommend it. Same as ever, a guide to what never changes. It feels like everything changes, but what Morgan Housel asks us to do is focus on what stays the same. There are certain things that just keep on happening. People are in a certain way, and that we have been forever, basically. And by focusing on what stays the same, we can make more informed predictions about the future. A really good book for first principle thinkers, so I really recommend that one. And that got me actually also interested in financials and economics, because that's one of Housel's expertise areas, which led me to check out the Bitcoin standard, the decentralized alternative to central banking. This book really blew my mind. I remember it was back in January 11th. I looked at some news site and they said that ETFs for Bitcoin was approved by the SEC, and I just got this insight because there was been a lot of signals going on around Bitcoin. I don't know much about it, but I felt like, hey, this seems important. I need to read up on it, and I picked up this book, and it tells you all about Bitcoin, but it also gives you a story, the history of money, which is super interesting, from stones to precious metals to now cryptocurrencies. And this book got me into a big rabbit hole, and it's probably the reason I haven't put out as many videos this year as last year, because I've really been studying this technology. It's very interesting, and I think you should read up on it if you don't know exactly how Bitcoin works. It's a fascinating story, and also just looking at money from a bird's eye perspective, and the history of it is worth your time, because money can be quite abstract and it's poorly understood. Oh, here's actually one I just got in the mail on my birthday, actually. So that was nice. Deep Utopia, Life and Meaning in a Solved World by Nick Bostrom, the author of Super Intelligence, which was a book I read maybe 8 years ago or so, that talks about, okay, what happens if we invent AGI, and he has all these scenarios, and it's kind of a warning of what might happen if we don't thread carefully through this technology of artificial intelligence. But this book has a more lighter tone, I guess, because it talks about what will happen if our transition into an AI-based society goes well. None of the horrific scenarios plays out, everything goes well. What will people do in a world where we solved most problems with artificial intelligence? So I'm really looking forward to read that one. Hopefully there's an audiobook version out soon, because then I will get to it faster. I have a little note here as well. Here's the few books that I'm listening to on audio and I haven't finished yet. In my book club, which I have here in Stockholm, we're reading The Moment of Lift by Melinda Gates, which focuses on what happens when we allow women to rise and do stuff in society, and it was actually really good so far. I think the most insightful thing about that book is to see what impact family planning can have in empowering women. If you're interested in these questions, then you should actually check that book out. I found it really good. I'm also reading Sociopath, a new book that I talked about in my video where I broke down the latest releases for April. I do this every month, where I just look at all the publishers, what do they publish, and I pick out a few ones that stand out for me that I think people should have an eye out for. So if you want videos like that, don't forget to subscribe and stuff like that, and it will pop up in your feed when I publish the next one, which would be in May, probably next week. This book is by Patrick I don't remember the name of the author, but it's a memoir about a woman who grew up and she realized that she was a sociopath. So it's the story of sociopathy from a first person's perspective, and it's actually really interesting. It kind of reminds me in kind of the style. It reminds me of I don't know where it is, like Tara Westover's book Educated that came out. It has a similar tone to it, but it's really interesting to get into the head of someone with sociopath disorder. And just to round this video off, it's going to be a quick one, I just want to say again that if you're looking for a really good book, this was my book of the year last year, Determined, A Science of Life Without Free Will by Robert M. Sapolsky, the author of Behave. If you haven't read it already, you should check it out. Now I'm going to pack my bags to go to Krakow, and I'll be back next week, as usual. And let me know what you read in the comments and what's your favorite book from this year so far, because I would love to just pick the golden nuggets out of your reading list so that I can have the best reading year of my life, basically. Anyway, that's it from me. Björn out. Bye.